My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with was one of Dem Bois' 2023 Gender Affirming Surgery Grant awardees. He was also a guest on episode 69 titled What If Everyone Leads with Love? And so this is another episode within my highlight series where at first I highlighted Dem Bois' board members. But with this episode, I'm highlighting my next guest who works directly with me as the production assistant. And so within this episode, he talks about his role and what he does as the production assistant. He also talks about Dem Boys as an organization and being a past Gender Affirming Surgery Grant awardee and how our mission resonates with him. We also discuss his views and his goals and what he sees with Dem Boys podcast in the future. And then towards the end, he discussed a little bit about our plans 3 years from now and what we plan to do with Dem Boys podcast. I hope that you enjoy this episode.
Dem boys, yeah. Dem boys, amplifying, transmitting, color voices, yeah, we here making noise, yeah, making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility, you know we them boys, yeah, them boys, yeah. Amplifying, transmitting, color voices. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest was a 2023 Gender Affirming Surgery Grant awardee. He was also a guest on episode 69. So if you want to hear his transition journey, be sure to go check out episode 69. Now he works directly with me as the production assistant. So Joel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sean. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
So it's nice to chat with you. We chat a lot more now. So that's nice too.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here. And so go ahead and introduce yourself for folks' name and pronoun for folks who haven't listened to your previous episode before.
Oh, yes. My name is Joël. I am currently living one day at a time. I'm a writer and a poet, and I am a cat dad. I love to cook, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. And my pronouns are I use he him pronouns. Yeah, I kind of struggle. I feel like I always struggle with introductions because I never know what I what I want to say, so I always switch it up. Yeah.
Well, you did great. You did great. So I'm so happy to have you on the show. This is another episode in our highlight series. And so we have 4 parts where we highlighted each individual board member. And so this is another piece of that where I'm highlighting folks that work directly with Dem Boys. And so you work as a production assistant. So as a 2023 Gender Affirming Surgery Grant awardee, this is almost like a full circle moment, right? Like you were a recipient of our program. You came back to share your story on the podcast. And so I want to ask you, like, what does the organization and the mission mean to you?
Yeah. So while you were talking, I was thinking about a couple months ago, I was listening to the radio, and there was this person who was talking about an organization for trans kids and their parents, and I've been really interested in in just being part of it. And so I think I was feeling this sense of wanting to be more intentional about being in community with other trans people and building relationships. And I really gravitated to Dem Boys because I genuinely appreciate the mission and the intention behind intentional community building. And so for me, being with Dem Boys feels like a really something that means a lot to me because it feels so significant to be with community, to be talking to other folks, to be like amplifying other people's voices and stories, because it also celebrates my experiences. It makes me feel connected to other people. It makes me feel not alone. It makes me feel like there are people who understand what feels like a unique part of my identity and part of who I am.
And so for folks listening, they're like, okay, Joel, we get it. You're a production assistant, but like, what does that do? So you want to kind of give folks in a kind of like a job description of what it is that you do as the production assistant?
Yeah, that's a good question. I reach out to a lot of people. So I'm often lurking on Instagram for for people who are talking about their masculinity, who are sharing their life and sharing their joy as trans men, as trans masculine folks. And so yeah, a lot of it is reaching out to people, emailing, just kind of wanting to share different stories. I What else do I do? I meet with Sean. We are often collaborating on different projects, different ideas that we have for how we can bring people together. And so just kind of honestly, a lot of it is dreaming, like dreaming up ideas and possibilities for us. Um, and I also work on the newsletter, so I help put together the newsletter. I'm also often on the lookout for trans men, trans organizations who are kind of presenting themselves as resources for the community, to share with others, to plug for others, and yeah, just a lot of it is essentially connecting with people.
Beautiful. So to
Did I miss anything?
no, to sum that up, so you pretty much are connecting with folks and bringing folks on the show to meet with me and to record episodes, and you're also working and moving with the newsletter. And so I want to say you're doing a great job, by the way. The new Visibility Equals Possibility merch is now here. If you've been a listener of the show for a while, you know that here on Dem Boys Podcast, we believe that visibility equals possibility. And I say it all the time. Now we're introducing a groundbreaking collaboration crafted by Emilio. Emilio was featured on Dem Boys Podcast episode 37. So if you don't know his story or his journey, be sure to go back and listen to episode 37, right? But this isn't just merch, it's a movement. We're empowering trans men of color with creative freedom to design their interpretation of what visibility equals possibility means to them. Think of it like major brands collaborating with athletes and musicians, right? But this time, it's our community taking the center stage. It's great to have trans men of color designing products that represents their community, my community, your community, and that folks feel proud to put on. So be sure to go to the website and check it out. Our website is demboys.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. Every purchase goes to support our vital programs. And so what I want to ask you, and so here on the podcast, we within Dem Boys, we like to say visibility equals possibility. And you and I talk all the time about how important that is, and also in bringing guests onto the show. And so now that we're in, it's been a rough couple of weeks, couple of months for folks with the new election. And so I want to ask you, if you mind just sharing now with the Trump presidency and how nervous we all are as gender diverse folks, transmasculine folks, queer folks. How important is it now more than ever? It's always been important, right? But how is it more important now that visibility equals possibility and that we're here sharing our stories on the show?
I think it's important because it makes, like, giving voice to experiences that people have had, I think helps like develop a shared sense of empathy, of awareness of the different experiences that people have. I feel like sometimes people imagine trans people to be uniform in some way in their identities and their experiences. And there's not like sometimes it feels like there's not a desire to really connect with people and connect with their experiences and their life journeys, and really be able to hold people to the full extent that they are. And I feel like I, for myself, have appreciated listening to the podcast and, sometimes even like being able to listen to what someone else has gone through, even if we're maybe share certain aspects of our identities, but still have, right, like a really different sense of of life and what we've experienced, but yet still being able to see yourself in someone else, to connect, to care really truly, right? To like develop our capacity to love people, people who are not, who are maybe different than us in various ways, but to be really able to like see like our human dignity, right? And I think a lot of that is, one way to do that is through stories and through storytelling. And yeah, to encourage people to really like take ownership of their experiences.
I think it's very important. And I think just I'm just going to add a little bit to that from my own perspective. I think that, oftentimes, yes, there are trans men of color who are listeners of this show, and that's the point, right? But the also the point of this podcast is for folks who may not be trans identified to hear our stories, and just like you said, to know that we're not monolithic, and to give people a insight or a better view into the lives of, and even as people of color, we don't all share the same experiences. And so it's to get an insight onto who we are as people. And that's what we are, right? We're people, and we're living in our as our true selves and being authentic and just sharing that with the world. And so just with all the negative connotations in the media about who trans people are, it's like, no, we're not those things, and that's not all about us. And so here is an insight into who we really are as people. And so I think that's very, very important. And I know even as I share my own story, that's what I want people to get from it, right? It's like, yo, this is who we are, and to see us, to hear us, and to feel us. And so my question to you is, what are you looking to contribute or hoping to manifest in the future with Dem Bois Podcast?
I think a sense of solidarity, like a sense of belonging, like contributing to that feeling with others. I feel like knowing that there's a place where you can go for support, for love, for care, for understanding, for help, right? I guess I'm wanting to be part in like creating that space. Because I feel like there's, like for me especially, as you mentioned, the presidency, or kind of the atmosphere that we find ourselves in, I feel like community becomes so crucial in many ways, and I think having different levels of that is really important. So to the extent that I can be part of bringing people together, and sharing stories, I think is something that's meaningful to me. I will also add, I was actually talking with a friend about, what it means to be a griot in the African tradition, and it's something. It's an identity that I think I've always really held on to, because I believe in the power of stories, and storytelling, and people talking about their lives and processing things that have happened to them, or with them, or for them, with others, with people who, want to be attentive, is really powerful. And I want to contribute towards being part of that solidarity.
Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Dem Bois Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. And so you mentioned bringing people together. And so that kind of, helps me talk about my next point. And so Dem Bois Podcast, for folks who don't know, I've mentioned it before. If you've subscribed to our newsletter, I mentioned it there before. But Dem Bois Podcast and Dem Bois was granted a grant from the California Department of Public Health, TGI Community Care Grant, as a part of their TGI Wellness and Equity Fund for the next 4 years. And it's the first in the country where state funds were given to TGI groups. And so this grant is funding the next 3 seasons of Dem Bois Podcast. And so when you talk about bringing folks together, you want to go ahead and share with folks what we're planning to do in the 3rd year of this grant.
Oh, yes. Yes, I can share that we are wanting to bring together our community and have an experience where we can be together and learn from each other and share about our experiences, share resources, collaborate together. Yeah, Sean and I are really, I think, partnering together to dream and imagine what that can look like, what shape it can take, and the logistics of how to go about it. But yeah, it's something that excites me. Just kind of like being able to bring people together to just kind of love on each other, to learn from each other, to eat together, right? To just fellowship together. And I guess just kind of excited to see where it goes.
Definitely. So folks, that will be like future guests or folks who want to join us in person. And so Joël, thank you so much for being a guest. And I really am grateful that you're here so that I can highlight you and just all the beautiful work that you do with the newsletter and bringing on guests, and just even me and you, when we meet and we talk, we have wonderful conversations, and you've become someone that I trust and I really appreciate. And so I want to ask you, are there any last words you want to say to folks that are listening?
I just want to extend love and care for all, and I hope everyone's taking care of themselves and getting what they need from the people they need it from themselves. I think going on walks, I know for myself, I feel like I'm in one of those moments where I just kind of constantly need to be just staying present and breathing and walking and just kind of staying in my body. So yeah, I'm extending like lots of good vibes to everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Joël. And thank you again for being a guest. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. As I highlighted, Joël, who works as the production assistant. And so if you're listening to this episode and you would like to be a future guest on Dem Bois Podcast, or if you know someone who would make a great guest on the show, please reach out to Joël directly via email. His email address is joel@demboys.org. Also, He's responsible for our biweekly newsletter. And so within our newsletter, we have a section where we spotlight trans mass contributions. And so the section is about celebrating and highlighting the work of trans men of color, whether they're artists, musicians, authors, business owners, educators, therapists, or creators of any kind. We like to showcase the credible things that they're doing and how they're shaping our communities. So if you know someone who's making a difference, if they're a bold entrepreneur, creator, or leader, please reach out to Joel. We would love to highlight you or someone else within our biweekly newsletter. And so once again, Joel's email is joel@demboys.org. See you in the next episode.